What is good and what is up, y'all? It's your boy here, Jay, back and better than ever with another episode of Padres Banter. The Pods go ahead and clinch their postseason berth last night against the Milwaukee Brewers at home in dramatic fashion as they walk it off in the 11th inning. Third time in the past 4 seasons that the Pods are in the postseason. Only looking forward from here. Let's get into it all right here on Padres Banter. What is up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Padres Banter. The Pods go ahead and clinch their postseason berth last night in dramatic fashion against the Milwaukee Brewers, walking it off in the 11th inning at home. Man almighty, it was crazy to behold. I feel like they always clinch in dramatic fashion. Last season, or 2 seasons ago, I think it was at the triple play. So just every year, when we clinch, it seems to be in dramatic fashion, but I'm here for it. We're in the postseason. We're in the dance. Third time in the past 4 seasons. So, coming from where we were early on in the 2000s, when I was rooting for those teams with Khalil Green, with Adrian Gonzalez, with Mike Cameron, with Jake Peavy, with this is a little bit after the Trevor Hoffman days, obviously. It was tough. It was rough. Every single year, I was wondering what it was like to just have a winning record. And now we're past that. Now we're in an area where we're consistently in the postseason. And, obviously we're going to get some hate from everybody on the outside talking about, oh, well, they're celebrating this and celebrating that. It means a lot. It means a lot to the city. And it means a lot to this franchise to go on a consistent basis to the postseason this way. I mean, a lot of the history in this franchise is very shallow when it comes to accolades, when it comes to things that have been achieved. And, when we clinch on a consistent basis, this isn't a regular occurrence in San Diego. And yeah, you can laugh about it all you want, but like I said, this city, it means something to this city. It means something to this fan base. It means something to this franchise. And being able to finally clinch for a consistent 3 years, not 3 years in a row, but 3 out of the past 4 seasons and 4 out of the past, 6, I believe it is, 4 out of the past 5. It's something to behold. And it's great to see as a Padre fan, and I'm just looking forward to it. We're in the dance. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter how you got to the dance. It's just the fact that you're there, and when you get there, it's going to be a whole new season, a whole new game. And I know that everybody's going to bring their A game, obviously, but time to flip the switch. Everything that we went through in the regular season, we put that behind us. Yes, the injuries were there, and you can't get the players back rather, that you had earlier on, but at the end of the day, you move forward with who you got, next man up mentality, and you just go, right? You attack. I think a lot of players, a lot of fans don't realize that you can't take these moments for granted. Yeah, it isn't the best team that we could put it, on for the postseason and put on, in the sense of who we are missing, right? From the Joe Musgroves of the world, to the Jason Adams of the world, to the Xander Bogaerts, if who knows how back he's going to be when he gets back. You get what I'm saying. You have to just move forward with who you got and just attack and try and go for a World Series, because you don't know how many opportunities like this that you get, right? We're probably, a little bit hobbled here and there, but you try your best with what you got. And because you're in the dance, right? And that goes for any sport. That goes for anything. And I think, especially in baseball, it's such a long season. And ultimately, we want to have, a full roster and a full strength. But that is just highly unlikely. Every single year, you expect that, but it's highly unlikely to survive a 162 game season with a fully healthy roster, fully healthy rotation, a fully healthy bullpen. So we move forward with who we got, and whoever we face going forward. As if the season ended today, we would be facing the Chicago Cubs, but who knows? 5 games left in the season. And anything can happen. Crazier things have happened. We are seeing right now the downfall of the Mets. We're seeing right now the downfall of the Tigers in the AL Central, about to lose the division right now to the Cleveland Guardians. But crazier things have happened. We move forward. We try to win as many games as we can, and we see where we are at it at the end of the season. And that's what you have to do as an organization. But let's go ahead and get into last night's game, and then go ahead and get into this past series, because the last time we talked, it was before the White Sox series, and basically how we got to this moment. So let's go ahead and get right into it. The Padres clinched their postseason playoff berth tonight, or last night rather, versus the Brewers, 5-4 in extra inning win. The Pods make the postseason for the second straight season and third in the last 4 seasons. Feels good to clinch, but job is not finished. The division is still in play, but kind of out of reach. But crazier things have happened. As of now, the Pods will play the Cubs, but we will see. Playing the Brewers was a great, team to play at this stage in the season because of the competition level that they have. Obviously, a 95 win team. They're very good. They're very good, one of the better records, and if not the best team in baseball. Obviously, that we have to see what they do in the postseason, but this is who we want to face before we go into the postseason. We want to face good competition. We don't want to be facing the White Sox or, stooping down to those level of competition when it comes to the White Sox. No shade to the White Sox, but at the end of the day, you don't want to play those types of teams before you go to the postseason, because you're eventually not going to be playing the best baseball that you can. But ultimately, that's who you want to be playing, especially with the kind of ball that we have been playing. Almost feels like we play down to our competition, or to our competition rather, every single time that we play, right? We didn't do too good in the White Sox series, even though we did take that series. But then we go and turn to the Milwaukee Brewers, and we beat one of the best teams in baseball. And that's the thing about baseball. It's so funny, but it feels like we almost play to our competition, which we cannot. We have to play the type of baseball that we have to play. But we went ahead and got the dub, and that's all that matters, with a great Nick Pivetta start. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 5 Ks on 112 pitches, and it wasn't great run support, but we got it in the end. Nick Pivetta probably could have had a better start. He did have, wavering command here and there, but at the end of the day, he goes out and he deals, and he gives you innings, and he gives you, at least a chance every single time he's on the mound. Marinaccio, Hart, Estrada, Suarez, and Morejon closed the deal. We out-hit the Brewers 7-4, but again, 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position, and left 11 runners on base, y'all. That is not okay. It is not okay. But we have to be better in the postseason. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We can't think that we're gonna win series when we're going 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. I understand hits were hard to come by in this game, but we just have to hit better. We have to. We have to at least put balls in play, more competitive balls in play. I feel like a lot of the times when we have runners in scoring position, or, that thereof, we're flaring balls. We're, not hitting hard ground balls. We're not hitting hard fly balls. It's just non-competitive at bats at times, and it needs to be better. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we got the win, and we got to the postseason for the third time in the past 4 seasons. But let's get into the White Sox series and how we got to this very moment and how we clinched last night. Let's get right into it. The Padres win the rubber match in their last road series in Chicago versus the White Sox 3-2. Padres barely squeaked by with a 3-2 victory. The Pods out-hit the White Sox in the rubber match 10-5 and out-hit the White Sox in the series 28-17. Tatis also hit his 150th home run of his career in the 3rd inning in the rubber match, helping the Pods to the victory. And speaking of Tatis, I meant to bring that up earlier, in the fact that he didn't play last night due to illness, so hoping the best. So that's another person that obviously I think he's obviously going to be fine going into the postseason, but that's somebody that was not available last night, and even more so to the point of how you're not going to be completely healthy in the postseason. So hoping he recovers really fast from that illness. Pretty sure he wasn't even in the stadium last night. He wasn't in the team picture. He wasn't in the celebration last night. So just really hoping for the best, hoping it's not going to affect him into next week, because that's literally when the postseason starts, is next Tuesday. So, but back to the point with the White Sox. And Tatis hitting his 150th home run of his career in the third inning in the rubber match, helping the Pods to the victory in the rubber match. Michael King had a great start as well. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, 4 walks, 4 Ks on 70 pitches. And man, that was a great start for King. Hoping that continues on into the postseason. And on to game one, the Pods would lose game one to the White Sox in a rather lackluster effort. 4-3, the Pods would again out hit the White Sox 7-4, but would go 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position, leaving 4 on base. Cease also looked disinterested in starting against his old team for the first time in Chicago, going 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, and 6 Ks. But yeah, it's just frustrating to watch Cease sometimes, the highs and the lows. I get it, of being a pitcher. But ultimately, you feel like there would have been a little more fire in his belly going into that stadium in Chicago, pitching against his former team that he was traded from, and really pitch his ass off. And unfortunately, it hasn't been that way at all this season for Cease. It's really been up and down, and when he's down, it's really down. When he's up, it's really up, and that's really the frustrating part about it. Is he has no hit stuff, and then he has stuff that they hit around the park. 8 hit games that he gives up sometimes, and he loses his command, and it's just frustrating to watch at times, because his capabilities, what he's capable of, but I think it's really between the ears with him. I really think that Dylan Cease is fully talented and capable of being one of the best pitchers in baseball, but it's really between the ears. And I think more than anything, when I see him pitch, the frustration coming off the mound and his demeanor and not being, I understand the frustration, right? But the ball's in your hand, right? The ball's in your hand, and I feel like as a pitcher, you really have to maintain your emotion as much as you can and try and just push forward even though things are going awry. And especially for a pitcher in the professionals, the major leagues, you would expect a little bit more professionalism in this fact that you have been through a lot to get to where you're at, and you've experienced a lot being a pitcher throughout the years. You've pitched for God knows how long, and you would expect that you understand baseball happens, the terminology of it's baseball, right? A lot of people say that when things go crazy and you don't know how to explain it. I think that when Dylan comes off the mound, sometimes he's so frustrated at himself that it's like, dude, you have the ball in your hand, number one, so there's nobody else that's dictating, what's going to happen besides you, because you have the ball in your hand. And number two, you have to manage your emotions, right? You have to understand that things are going to go crazy, things are going to go awry, but you have to get right back on that mound and start dealing again, so wait, you give us a chance. And I think each and every time he steps back on that mound, he thinks about what he did prior inning or what he did the pitch before, and it hurts him and it hurts the team, because then he starts missing, then he starts going right down the middle, and it gets teed off, because when he's not thinking about commanding his fastball and being dominant in that fashion, the fastball is lazy in the zone, and it gets tattooed. So it just didn't look like a good start from him, even though he did give 6 innings. And typically, I would say that when someone gives 6 innings, that it's a rather good start, because you're giving us innings, you're giving us a chance, right? That's typically what that means. But ultimately, it didn't feel that way. Even though he had 6 Ks and 4 hits, he felt disinterested. I hope that going into the postseason, it's a little bit different. I'm not a Cease hater. I love Cease. I think that, truthfully, he can, be on this roster in the future. But who knows what the future holds and how, Preller feels about him going forward. It's like I said, it's really about between the ears with him. But, a lot of fans are done with him. If he can be on a roster again, I think that's always a benefit, in the sense that he's one of the top tier pitchers in the league when he's on, and you don't want to give him up and him go to another team and him have, a really good season. But, ultimately at the end of the day, I'm just praying that going forward into the postseason, we get the top notch Dylan Cease. But history doesn't say that, guys. History doesn't say that. And although it may have seemed like a decent start, like I said, by the numbers, it wasn't. He had inconsistencies and just rather frustrating to watch. Estrada would come in and look better, and Peralta also looked decent, but all was for naught as the Bats couldn't muster one more run for the team to tie the ball game. Moving on to game two, the Pods looked to bounce back and did just that with a 7-3 win and out hitting the White Sox 11-8 with a great start by Darvish going 4 2/3, 6 hits, 2 runs, and 4 Ks on 78 pitches, but Morejon got the win coming in for relief of Darvish, now having the most wins by an NL relief pitcher since 1986, guys. The Bats also were alive, hitting 500 with runners in scoring position, 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position, although we left 6 on base. O'Hearn and Merrill both recorded multi-hit games, with Merrill getting his 15th home run of the season. Estrada, Miller, and Suarez came in and sealed the deal, and haven't seen that in a while, with the bullpen finally getting a chance to shine. Ultimately, the Padres avoided the series loss and set themselves up for a series win in the rubber match the next day. And we did actually see that a little bit last night when they played the Milwaukee Brewers. We had a lot more guys come in because it was extra innings, but that was the first time in a while that we had seen that, the 3 out of the 5 horsemen come in that order. It had been a while because of the fact that we haven't given them run support and we really haven't been in the games that we should have. But at the end of the day, it's good to see that. It's good to have them get that run before the playoffs, and we'll see what happens going forward. But that was game 2, and on to game 3, obviously the rubber match. Like I said, the Pods got the dub and the series win, now looking to Milwaukee, which they eventually obviously started their series against Milwaukee last night, and then eventually Arizona starting on Friday. It's going to be interesting, guys, going forward. We got the postseason berth. That's what matters. The division looks out of reach, but I've seen crazier things happen, especially with the Guardians and the Tigers on right now, and the Mets and Cincinnati. If you guys haven't paid attention to the Guardians and Tigers, the Tigers were ahead of the Guardians by 11 games. I believe it was September 4th, 5th, and now the Guardians are only 1 game back, and obviously the Mets' downfall and them losing their tiebreaker to Cincinnati, just not good for them. But we can still manage to get hot, and no better time than against 2, possible postseason teams. Obviously, 1 for sure in the Milwaukee Brewers, but 2 in the obviously maybe in the Arizona Diamondbacks, and we'll see what happens because, like I said, crazier things have happened. The Diamondbacks are right behind the Reds right now, but not sure how we will fare in the playoffs, guys. The way that we're playing, we did get that berth, but the inconsistencies, the runners in scoring position, not being able to produce in that facet with the lineup that we have, we need to just try and find a way. But right now, we have Chicago. That would be it right now, who will be playing, and it's probably our best bet going forward. You don't want to be playing any of the division winners, obviously, and I don't think you want to be playing anybody else, to be honest. A lot of these teams in the NL are really good, and you really don't want to face any of them right now. I feel like a lot of them are good. The Cubs did just come off of a sweep, but at the end of the day, they're hungry. So I mean, you don't want to play the Cubs, and we'll see, guys. We'll see. Ultimately, that's who we're gonna be playing right now. That's what they say. So at the end of the day, we play whoever is in front of us, and we're gonna give it our best bet, or give it our best shot, rather. I'll put my guys in front of anybody, and put my my house on it, my life on it. That we go ahead and just compete, at least compete, right? I'm not gonna bet on the World Series or anything crazy like that. I am a logical Padres fan, but at the end of the day, I have a lot of optimism, and I'm excited, guys. We're in the postseason. That's all that matters. So whoever we play, we're gonna go ahead and fight with our last, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. We're going to fight with every last bit of us. Man, it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting going forward. But that is a wrap for tonight. As you guys tune in tonight as well, we need to go ahead and compete for this division. Like I said, crazier things have happened, but we go ahead and we clinch this postseason berth. The Padres go ahead and clinch for the 3rd time in 4 seasons, and man, this last home series stretch of the 2025 season. We have 5 games left. We have 2 more games against Milwaukee, and then we got a 3-game series starting on Friday against another in-division foe in the Arizona Diamondbacks to round out our 2025 season. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you guys on Friday. But let's go Padres. The Padres are headed to the postseason in 2025. We out.